Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to completely demystify some of the absolute trickiest parts of French grammar. Honestly, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by French verbs, you are in the perfect place. Today, we're taking those rigid, boring grammar rules straight out of the textbook and actually bringing them to life. We're going to connect these concepts directly to relatable daily routines, and as a fun little reward for all our hard work, we'll finish up with a deliciously simple real-world recipe. Let's make learning French efficient, visual, and actually fun.
So here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with time traveling with Tom, move into the Avoir versus Être showdown, explore the art of saying no, and finally end up cooking up some French vocabulary.
All right, part 1, time traveling with Tom.
To really grasp how French verbs change across time, it seriously helps to anchor them to a story. So we're going to follow our protagonist, Tom, through his daily routine. Just think about how his morning transforms depending on when it happens. In the present tense, his day starts with il se lève, he gets up. But jump over to the past tense, and that exact same action transforms into il s'est levé, he got up. Notice how it requires extra pieces to actually push it into the past. And then, looking ahead to the future, it becomes il va se lever, he is going to get up. This brilliantly illustrates the core architecture of French time travel. You aren't just memorizing random words, you're essentially swapping out the engine of the sentence depending on when the action takes place.
The crucial takeaway here is seeing how these pieces fit together to tell a dynamic story. Think about Tom's usual routine in the present tense. Tom va au bureau. Tom goes to the office. But well, life has exceptions, right? So for a specific one-off event, we shift to the past tense. Tom est allé chez le dentiste. Tom went to the dentist. We can clearly see how taking a base verb like aller, which means to go, and plugging it into different formulas allows us to completely control the narrative of Tom's day.
Moving right along to part 2, the Avoir versus Être showdown.
Okay, let's tackle a notorious hurdle for so many learners. Deciding between avoir, which means to have, and être, which means to be. Think about the stark contrast between English and French here. In English, we use the verb to be to describe our states. We say things like, I am 10 years old, or I am hungry. But in French, the reality is entirely different. You don't be an age or be hungry. You actually have them. J'ai 10 ans literally translates to I have 10 years. J'ai faim means I have hunger. So when you're talking about age, hunger, or thirst, you absolutely must drop your English intuition and use avoir. You physically possess these states.
And this perfectly illustrates the big split when forming the past tense, the passé composé. The vast majority of standard action verbs use avoir. For example, elle a mangé, she ate. But there's a very exclusive VIP club of verbs that flat out refuse to use avoir and instead require être. These are your verbs of motion, coming and going, as well as reflexive daily actions. So, I left early becomes je suis parti tôt. You are literally saying I am left early. Recognizing the specific split is the ultimate key to unlocking the French past tense.
All right, let's do a quick pop quiz to test your knowledge right now. Based on the rules we just went over, which auxiliary verb would you use to complete this sentence, tu blank un homme, meaning, are you a man? Think about it for a second. Are we dealing with an action in the past or a fundamental state of being? Well, if you guessed S, tu es un homme, using the verb être, you totally nailed it. It's a permanent state of being, not a possession like age or hunger.
Let's jump into part 3, the art of saying no.
We've built all these sentences up, so now let's break them down. Let's dive into some conversational mechanics and practice wrapping our newly learned verbs in negation. Imagine you're in a rapid-fire conversational drill, straight from a live tutoring session. Someone asks you, parles-tu bien le français? Do you speak French well? How do you smoothly say no to that?
Well, the answer is non, je ne parle pas bien le français. Notice the exact structure here. The ne and the pas act exactly like two pieces of bread in a sandwich, perfectly placing themselves on either side of the conjugated verb parle. The verb is just trapped right there in the middle. Okay, let's level this up a bit. I'm going to challenge you with a slightly more complex past tense question. As-tu déjà travaillé avec lui? Have you ever worked with him? Here, we introduce the concept of déjà, which means ever or already. The response to this is super elegant. Non, je n'ai jamais travaillé avec lui. Notice how the standard ne pas shifts beautifully to ne jamais to mean never, but watch out for the trap. In the past tense, the negation doesn't go around the whole entire verb block. It successfully traps just the auxiliary verb, in this case, a. The main action, travailler, is left completely outside the sandwich.
Finally, Part 4, Cooking Up French Vocabulary.
You have done some seriously heavy grammar lifting today, so let's reward that hard work with a fully immersive, vocabulary-rich application to a real-world scenario. This is a deliciously simple 15-minute dinner recipe for a Mediterranean shrimp sheet pan from a bilingual food blog called Dash of Honey. Honestly, recipes are the absolute perfect context to ground our new language skills because they're just packed with highly practical nouns and very direct action verbs.
Let's walk through this mouth-watering vocabulary list together. First, we have crevettes for shrimp, which the author actually notes is an amazing quick freezer staple to pimp up any meal. Then we've got ail for garlic, zeste de citron for lemon zest, courgette for zucchini, and of course, feta for feta cheese. I mean, just reading the list in French makes the whole thing sound more gourmet, doesn't it?
But at the end of the day, a recipe is all about action. And this brings us right back full circle to our earlier verb exercises. Check out these culinary action verbs embedded right in the instructions. Préchauffer, preheat the oven. Mélanger, mix the shrimp with the spices. Trancher, slice the onions. And cuire, cook it all on the sheet pan. Seeing these verbs in their raw, infinitive form gives you the exact building blocks you need to start conjugating them into the past, present, or future, just like we did with Tom.
Solidifying your base. As we wrap up this explainer, let's reflect for a second on exactly why we focus on these foundational grammar exercises. It can definitely feel repetitive, jumping back and forth between tenses, but there is a profound reason for it. I really love this quote from the Sources language tutor. We need to put all the bricks in the good order, or otherwise the wall will fall off. Mixing tenses is hard. Remembering avoir versus être takes genuine effort, but this base is absolutely essential. If you don't secure these foundational bricks right now, your language wall simply won't stand strong when you eventually try to have fluid, complex conversations.
So I'm going to leave you with one final provocative thought, a real challenge to apply what you've learned today to your own life right now. I want you to translate and answer this question for yourself. À quelle heure vas-tu te coucher ce soir? Use the future tense, build your sentence, and solidify that base. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and definitely keep practicing those verbs.